Hello, this is Pauline Jennings. Welcome to Musician Talk. My guest today is Emma Borkowski, who is a senior at St. Olaf College. I first heard Emma sing a few years ago and fell in love with her voice. I look forward to sharing her talent with you. Emma is from Brookfield, Wisconsin, and has been seen in countless school, community, and professional stages all around the Milwaukee area, performing in musicals, cabarets, and showcases. On campus, she arranges for and sings songs with the 10-person treble voice group Agnes Acapella, and is also in the hip-hop dance club MIX. In town, she was proud to perform with the Northfield Arts Guild in Catastrophe 2. Following graduation, she plans to move to Nashville, Tennessee with her older sister to pursue a career in communications as well as writing and performing music. Well, there's a lot more to learn here. Let's talk to Emma Borkowski. Hi, Emma. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Pauline?
Oh, I'm good. It's really great to see you.
You too.
So I'm wondering, now you're a student at St. Olaf. And I haven't had too many college students on this show, and I'm wondering how COVID has interrupted your collegiate life.
Well, back in March of 2020, I was actually abroad. I was spending the semester in Copenhagen, Denmark, and it was awesome. I was 2 months in, and I had exactly 2 months left, and I had to leave. I had to flee, which was heartbreaking. And I mean, everybody has had losses through the last year. But that was definitely tough to adjust. I did a lot of traveling when I was there. I was glad that I really front loaded my traveling. I went to like 8 new countries with some of my friends and had some amazing experiences. I stayed with a host family and it was just incredible. But then coming back from such a wonderful experience that I was supposed to have 2 more months of, back to the cold Midwest was weird and sad and disappointing to finish those classes that were supposed to be taken abroad online when so many of them were very Denmark and Copenhagen focused. That was a really weird adjustment, but I made it through. I finished up classes around May, and then I found this awesome internship that I did over the summer, but it was weird to adjust to that remotely. I think that's been a big thing that everybody's adjusted to, is doing things online. And I now still work with that company. I work with Cannon River Watershed Partnership in town, actually. I'm their communications assistant, but the COVID world is definitely one that I'm still somehow not used to, even though we're just about a year in.
And no, I don't think you learn how to be distant from people. Although subconsciously I am, because I'll watch TV shows and I'll be like, no, don't get so close. What are they doing? Why are they kissing? Why are they, it's like, so it's in my psyche.
It is. Yeah. I had a great opportunity to go to New York City with the Piper Center last fall. And we toured like some advertising agencies, and it was about marketing. And it was that kind of, academic tour, and saw some alums and stuff. But I saw a picture of myself recently from that trip in the subway, like holding one of the subway bars, like, to stand up against. And I just looked at that and I was appalled. I said, never again will I do that.
Were there any silver linings for you?
I would say absolutely. I mean, as much as this past year has been tough and weird, and not to diminish anybody's losses of jobs or loved ones or everything that's gone absolutely wrong, at the same time, I think that there's been a lot of time to reflect. And that's something that I've talked with a lot of important people in my life about, is thinking, what are the people that I really want in my life, and how do I now communicate with them? Like, I think that I FaceTime more now in a more intentional way with people that I love. And I think that that's a really unique way to strengthen those relationships, even though it's obviously not ideal. I also, as a little quarantine hobby / whatever, back in June, started learning guitar. So that's been a big one for me. That's been great. I have definitely put a lot of time and energy and passion into that. I turned 21 this year. It was my golden 21st birthday in May. I know, right? And I mean, drove around and saw all my friends and did a really cool tour with my family in a very unique way. A COVID birthday, I guess we've all had now. So I think ultimately, there have been a whole bundle of silver linings. And I think that that's also tends to be my mindset with things, is that you have to work with what you've got. Otherwise, you're worse off no matter what. So that's what I tell myself.
That's terrific. And that's a great way to look at it. I commend you for that. And we're going to talk about the guitar learning later. But first, I want to take you back. First of all, where'd you grow up?
I grew up about an hour north of Milwaukee, in this teeny town, I guess, but big house in the country, middle of nowhere. north of like Sheboygan, if that means anything to any of the listeners. And then it just kept on moving south. So we moved to like West Bend, and I went to school in West Bend. And then now I live in Brookfield, which is a suburb of Milwaukee.
Was there a lot of music in your house growing up?
Yes, since we lived so far from the things that we did, like dance lessons and musicals, we spent a lot of time in the car and going to school. We drove to school. So I actually give a lot of credit to all the time in the car and listening to music, all the classics that my parents listened to. I think that all of that listening and singing along, that was a big part of why I like to sing so much. I've been singing and dancing my whole life, and my sister sings as well. And my brother was dragged along to all that stuff too. So
So outside of singing in the car, when did you start singing in a group or in school?
I remember doing, music class back at elementary school and loving it. And I was always in choir in middle and high school. I started doing musicals when I was 8 years old. I did, 2 or 3 a year, maybe like a fall and a summer kind of thing. And then from there, we would always do, in Wisconsin, we've got like a state soloist ensemble situation. I mean, things like that where you prepare a kind of choral piece and you go and sing. I would do singing competitions too. I did a handful of those in middle school, kind of like a Waukesha's Got Talent or, Oconomowoc Idol kind of thing. And that was always fun to hear other students my age singing as well.
And do you remember the first time you were on stage singing a solo?
But I'm definitely brought back to my 5th grade year. So that was the year that I moved to Brookfield and switched schools in 5th grade. And I auditioned for The Wizard of Oz at my elementary school. And I was this new girl that nobody knew. And everybody's looking at me like, who is she? Where is she from? And I auditioned for The Wizard of Oz, and I got the part of Dorothy. Wow. And everybody's like, oh, she can sing. That's so cool. So right when I was 10 years old, new kid on the block, I remember singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow as a little 10-year-old. I remember the piano player for that musical was so talented. Her name was Elna. She was so sweet. And I remember her working on that song with me and the intro. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And I was so excited to perform it on stage. And in the Elmbrook School District, where I, moved to in 5th grade and then graduated from in 2017, we do all of our orchestra and choir and musical performances at the Sharon Lynn Wilson Center for the Arts here in town. And so I started performing on that stage back in 2008. And then up until my senior year of high school, when I played Nancy and Oliver, I was singing on that stage. So
wow. So you've had quite a few leads, and that is awesome. And you started early.
I really did.
5th grade. That is awesome.
And
you deserve it. You could sing.
Thank you.
Sing. So I met you when I was casting for Catastrophe 2, a show that I produced through the Guild and directed, and just fell in love with your voice then, and knew that there's just really almost nothing that you could not sing. And so that's a little aside. Back to you and your life, your musical life and your musical journey. So you were in a lot of ensembles and choir and musical theater, and that was all through high school.
I also have danced since I was 3. That's a fun fact that I guess you might only know about me if you see me in a musical or if you ask, because I definitely now in life tend to sing more. But I took ballet, tap, jazz, and modern classes all from when I was 3 years old to 18. Wow. I would dance in recitals, and we, the dance studio that I was a part of back in West Bend, would do a spring recital and a winter Nutcracker. So each year I would dance to the Nutcracker and have a spring recital. And I still love the Nutcracker because of that. And Tchaikovsky's music is just so beautiful. So that's also kind of something in there that for me, musical theater was a really good intersection of these interests that I had.
So what are some of the highlights in high school for you as far as some of the roles you were in and or any competitions you were in?
My junior year, we did Crazy for You, which is a Gershwin musical. And I was Polly. She's the main girl. She's got a little Southern accent. And Polly gets to sing the song Someone to Watch Over Me. And that is one of my favorite songs to sing. I just love that song. Also, then senior year, I was Nancy and Oliver, and that was like the scariest, darkest show I've ever been in. Yeah, musicals, I mean, obviously tend to be exciting and upbeat. And Nancy was a really powerful and dark role that I was really happy to be able to play. Another really interesting thing I did in high school is an opportunity called Kids from Wisconsin. It's a traveling performance group of 33 young performers, 15 to 20-year-olds. There's a 20-piece singer dancer. So I was a singer dancer, and then there's a 13-piece band. And we do this really intense 2-week practice camp in the beginning of June, working like 18-hour days. Like you wake up, breakfast, 3-hour rehearsal, lunch, 3-hour rehearsal. And that's the structure of camp. Very intense. You learn the whole 2-hour show. It's medleys. It's a lot of fun. And then you take it on the road. So after that 2-week camp, you go during the summer, and we perform over 60 times throughout the state of Wisconsin. And State Fair is one of their main sponsors. So we would also perform twice daily at the State Fair.
Wow.
Yeah, so lots of people there, lots of warm, sunny days at the State Fair. And that was a really cool opportunity. I mean, I had like 3 to 5 off days, and those are the summers after my junior and after my senior year of high school.
That is really a cool opportunity. I love that. I wonder if Minnesota has anything like that. After all these great opportunities that you had in high school, you decided to go to St. Olaf. How did you make that decision?
A few things came into play. I applied to, I think, 5 small liberal arts schools about, 3 to 6 hours away from my house. So St. Olaf obviously fits that because I'm from Milwaukee. I was looking for a place with some really nice study abroad opportunities, and I always loved the feel of St. Olaf. You don't have to major in what your passions are. Like, obviously, I love music, but I'm not majoring in it, and that's definitely something that's super attainable at a school like St. Olaf, so that was important to me. St. Olaf is where I belong, and I'm very grateful for my 4 years. I feel like I'm in this very reflective part of my life right now where I'm about to have my final semester of college and then really take on the real world.
So before we get to the real world and graduation, what performance opportunities have you had at St. Olaf?
Yes. So this is something to know about me. My freshman year, my dad actually passed away. So he got sick with brain cancer my senior year of high school, which was really
Tough.
awful. Yeah. And then I went to school, and well, I did Kids from Wisconsin that summer when he was sick. And then when I went to school, my sister was there. So we had that year together. I was a freshman and she was a senior, and my dad passed away in September, and that was really, really hard. And so that year was a funky one in every way that it should be as a first year of college, and I'm going through this really big part of my life right now. So I didn't really do a lot of performance. I was actually in choir. I was in Manitou, the freshman girls choir, and did Christmas Fest and had a good time with that. But choir has never really been where my heart lies in music. Like, I think it's great singing with so many people, and it's a really cool opportunity, but that's not necessarily my favorite type of style of music. So I'm glad I did that, but I really missed performing. Since that's such a big part of my identity, going to college and not doing that, I definitely felt the absence of it. So I actually met a really nice girl in a class that I took my fall of my freshman year. And she started this hip hop dance group. And of all the dance styles of dance that I listed before, hip hop was not one of them. But I said, you know what, these girls are really cool. Why not try something new? So I've now been in that hip hop dance club since my interim of my freshman year. And so I've really enjoyed doing that. We tend to do like one performance a semester, I'd say, with that. But then at the end of my freshman year, I really missed singing in a way that I really love to sing, which is a lot more like pop stuff, I'd say. At the end of my freshman year, I auditioned for the next fall to be a part of the treble voiced a cappella group on campus. It's called Agnes A Cappella. And I auditioned, and I was so excited because it was, I was auditioning for my peers. And that's, right, I think, such a different thing than auditioning for a director or somebody that is just so different than the people you literally go to class with. So that was exciting. I got in, and then I have gotten to arrange probably 10 songs for that group of my solos and other people's solos and some group songs we've done. And then teaching that too is just something that I really love.
Wow. So through this opportunity, you've learned some things about yourself, that you're good at arranging and that you like to arrange and direct. And arranging is another animal. How did you fall into that? Or were you doing that already? Because that's not something that somebody just picks up. Or maybe Emma does.
I think that it's totally how my brain works. I've tried with a few of the members to kind of explain to them how I do it or help them through it. And I think anybody can be capable of it, but I definitely do it entirely by ear. My first semester of Agnes, I asked the main kind of girl who was kind of in charge, like, how do you do this? What do you use? And she explained to me she did it through GarageBand. And obviously there's a lot of different ways you can arrange things. I don't tend to write it down because I don't have as much music theory experience. It would not be as productive for me to do that. But I have loved that. I've actually got a few of my arrangements on like SoundCloud, and my mom listens to them sometimes.
That's great.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Oh, what a great little synopsis up to now.
Mhm.
And now it's time to turn to your first song, which is called Built for Me. Is this a cover? I didn't recognize it.
This is an original.
Awesome. You wrote?
Yes, I wrote it with my friend Tyler this summer. We were on a camping trip, and I was, I think, a month into playing guitar, and I was like, I want to write a song. So we wrote this song together. Yeah.
That's the other great thing about learning guitar is you have a melodic instrument to work out songs that you want to sing, that you want to write. That's terrific. And so here you are, a newbie on the guitar, taking it up and recording yourself singing. And that takes courage. And I'm just proud of you that you did it, because I think there's a lot of people that want to do it and then they just don't apply themselves enough, meaning me. And so I'm glad that you did, because what a treat it is to listen to this song. Tell me where the inception of this song came from.
I love the C add 9 chord. That's something that I've learned about myself. That on guitar, I just think is a very beautiful chord. So I pretty much made this song around that. I had the chord progression. I had, I think, a verse. And my friend Tyler was like, no, we can make this a song. It's kind of an empowering song. I actually recorded this version with a friend that I met doing a performance this fall. His name's Alex. He's a junior on campus, and he wants to be like a recording engineer. So he offered to help record a few songs for me, and this was one of them. And I think it sounds really, really good. And huge thank you to him for helping me. And that's also something that I've learned with now that I play guitar, and now that I'm starting to write more songs and see what that feels like. The importance of collaboration, and like knowing that I wrote the song with Tyler and then Alex helped me record it. I think there's so much potential there. And I think that's a really important aspect of music.
It is indeed. And we'll get back to that as well. But first, let's take a listen to Built for Me, a song written by my guest, Emma Borkowski, and her friend, Tyler Galante, and also featuring you on vocals and guitar. Here it is.
Have passed since I finally said bye to you. If anyone asked, I'd say it was the right thing to do. I don't regret it at all. Do you? Does part of you wish you held on just a little tighter? Does part of you wish I took things just a little lighter? Head in the clouds, we were young, didn't know what to do. Now I'm on my own. Summer breeze. I get lost when I'm searching for my spaces, and I don't know my place yet. That's been built for me. 19 growing up, thought I had it figured out. Going strong was all I seemed to think about. And all those words we knew, but was it really true? Years go by and now when I look back, I realize that I'm no longer like that. With each day I'm learning to change. Now I'm on my own, and I find myself surrounded by the trees and the ocean summer breeze. I get lost when I'm searching for my spaces.
This is Pauline Jennings, and you're listening to Musician Talk, hosted by me. You just heard Built for Me, performed by my guest, Emma Borkowski, and also written by her with a friend. So, okay, first of all, I love your voice. It's so effortless and smooth, and your pitch is so spot on. Really, really well done.
Thank you so much.
So now let's talk about the future, the real world. And once you graduate and you want to move down to Nashville to get a job in communications and also pursue writing and singing. And do you have a plan?
My plan is to say yes. And my plan is to meet as many people as I can. Like I said, collaborate and work as hard as I ever have and ever will. Just be very disciplined and get myself where I want to go. That's been a consistent yearly goal of mine, is to do everything that I'm doing right now for the future. Like if I'm doing something and it's bringing me back, I don't want that. I want everything I'm doing to bring me to the next step. So I think that when I graduate and when I move to Nashville, that will continue to be my goal, my mindset.
Wow, that's great. And I think that things will happen. I mean, just by virtue of your personality and your talent, it seems to me that your door is going to be knocked on.
Thank you. That's right.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we've talked a little bit about this and with dance and with art in general, and how it's been so important in your life. I'm just wondering if you have any idea of how having music in your life and singing and now picking up guitar, how that has affected other areas of your life.
With the collaboration aspect of it, I've been more connected with people that otherwise I don't think I would have. Actually, this is kind of a silly story. My sophomore year of high school, I got asked to prom by a junior, and this guy's name was Josh. My brother's name is Josh. So he's a year older than me. So he was also going to prom that year. So I had to call my prom date Josh. So there's prom date Josh and there was brother Josh. It was a confusing spring. It was a great time. We had a lovely, lovely night. But actually prom date Josh now, he went to Madison and he's back in Brookfield for a little bit and he's pursuing music stuff. We actually got together a few weeks ago and wrote a song together. Me and prom date Josh. Who would have thought that so many years later we could be reconnected by something that's a mutual passion, which I think is super cool. I guess in the context of the job force kind of work part of my life, I'm currently doing communications for the Cannon River Watershed Partnership. And those are all skills that I see how I've learned the discipline from music and art and dance definitely carries over to other parts of my life.
Certainly. We need to move to the next song, which is called Cold, Cold Heart. And this is Hank Williams.
It is a Hank Williams tune, but this is the Norah Jones kind of cover style of it. I got to perform this back in late September of 2020 last year, with my dear friend Kurt Johnson, who I met doing Catastrophe with you, and Ray Kudre, very talented guy. So they were performing outside at the Armory Square and asked me to sing a few songs with them, and this was one of them. And I didn't know the song like a week prior to performing it, but Kurt said, "Do you know this one? Can you learn it?" And I said, "Sure." And I think it's beautiful. I think it was such a cool arrangement.
You know, this is a jazz arrangement of a country western song. It's a sparse arrangement, which makes your voice just shine. And I think that you set this up perfectly, that you were asked to sing it. You learned it in a week and you knocked it out of the park. So let's take a listen to Cold, Cold Heart.
To show that you're my every dream, yet you're afraid each thing I do is just some evil scheme. A memory from your lonesome past keeps us so far apart. Why can't I free your doubtful mind and melt your cold, cold heart? Another love before my time made your heart sad and blue, and so my heart is paying now for things I didn't do. In the anger, unkind words words are said that make the teardrops start. Why can't I free your doubtful mind and melt your cold, cold heart? There was a time when I believed that you belonged to me, but now I know your heart is shackled to memory. The more I learn to care for you, the more we drift apart. Why can't I free your doubtful mind and melt your cold, cold heart?
Emma Borkowski, thank you for joining us.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Kurt.
You're listening to Musician Talk, hosted by me, Pauline Jennings, with today's guest, Emma Borkowski. You just heard her beautiful vocal on Cold, Cold Heart. So, your voice fits the jazz genre really, really well. And you sing jazz really well, which it seems like it's something that takes a little bit more effort to learn how to do than perhaps singing in some other genres. At least it is for me. I'm wondering if you've, and I haven't asked this question yet, have you had any private lessons?
I tended to get some private instruction before auditions. That would kind of be my typical schedule. I would work on my audition song or songs with a really lovely teacher in Milwaukee named Diane Lane. And we would work on songs, and she was very, very helpful. And I always thought that those lessons were very eye-opening and cool to hear a professional talking to me. But I didn't take like weekly voice lessons so much. I would really mostly sing in musicals and choir and all that good stuff. But I did actually, I haven't done a whole bunch of stuff with jazz, but I do love it. I guess, would you consider Gershwin jazz? I think that Gershwin is jazz, right?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I mean, when I did Crazy for You my junior year and got to sing those Gershwin songs, that was really fun for me. And then my senior year of high school, the band teacher works really hard at the high school that I went to, and he always puts on this spring event called Bebop and Barbecue. That's a fundraiser for the band department. Yeah, so of course it's a lot of jazz, it's a lot of fun, and he asked me to sing. So I sang, I think 2 or 3 songs that year, like that night, and it was just so much fun. And I love that setting of like jazz music is just so fun for that reason. I mean, you're just having a great time, and I think that those songs are very beautiful, and singing in a pretty way is something that I like always strive to do. Like it sounds obvious, but that's my main goal. And I think with jazz music, it does tend to be so pretty that it means a lot that you say I sing it well, because it's a lot of fun for me. Yeah,
you do. And I think that it's a nod to your excellent ear that you're able to cop that stuff so well without really much training. We are coming to the end of our interview here, unfortunately. So I want to get to my weekly section of the show, which is best gig, worst gig. What comes to mind for you when I say worst gig?
You know, I feel lucky that nothing is really popping out of my head. But a silly little moment is that at one point during a performance, I was in a costume that had white Keds on. And there was a costume change into this fancy kind of ball gown style vinyl outfit, right? And it was a quick change backstage whatever, get your thing done and go back on stage. So I change into my pretty dress, my pretty, beautiful evening gown dress, and go on stage. And I'm still wearing the white sneakers. And I'm looking around, everybody else is wearing their tan character shoes. And I was like, well, I guess they didn't understand the change today. We were supposed to wear the white shoes. But that was a silly moment. But I mean, along with that, like you said, how performance and everything carries into life, I definitely embody the just keep dancing kind of motto that I learned when I was younger, that no matter what, if a tiara falls off, you just keep dancing. Like if I'm wearing the wrong shoes, you just keep going. And I think that's the beauty of live performance. It didn't really make or break anything, but it was certainly a moment that I look back on and just wasn't super proud of, but
you're laughing about it. So
exactly.
That's the whole point of this, is to laugh.
Yes.
So what's one of your most memorable gigs?
It's hard to say if I want to choose the gig that had, the most people that I loved in the audience, or the biggest audience, or the highest production quality kind of gig.
Sure.
But honestly, I think I'm going to bring it back to this past fall, when the recording that we just listened to of Cold Cold Heart, when I got to sing with Kurt and Ray. That was really important and special to me. And I guess kind of a culmination of the things that I just listed off, because I got to sing with Kurt and Ray. Kurt, who I love deeply, and Ray, who now I get to know, which is amazing. On stage, a beautiful, fall night at dusk, and a whole bunch of my friends came, of different groups too, which I love that about performance. I'm friends with a lot of different types of people. So when I do perform, they'll kind of all come together. It's kind of like then all these different groups of people are together and supporting me doing what I love, which means the world to me. So something like that, where it's, pretty low stakes, and we rehearsed actually 0 times altogether. I mean, we were just having a great time as musicians on stage. And I would say that was a really great opportunity. And also, like, one of my favorite things to do too is just to sing. And as much as I love musical theater and I've learned so much from it, I think there's a very, very big difference between going up on stage as somebody else and going up on stage as yourself. Showing the audience who I am in a vulnerable way with people that I love and care about around me and in front of me was a really special thing.
Well, that's a perfect place to end it. That's beautifully said. And there is nothing like it. I agree. So before we end this lovely conversation, is there any place we could find you online?
Yes, there are a handful of places to find me. As I mentioned before, I do have a few songs on SoundCloud. If you just look up Emma Borkowski, I should come up. My Instagram is actually exceedingly becoming more of a place to watch me do guitar and music stuff. So my handle is just Emma Borkowski. If you look on YouTube, you'll find a whole bunch of things my mom has uploaded through the years of me performing. That's going to be a lot more high school type of stuff, but very lovely anyway. I do have a website. It's got kind of a lengthy name. It's emmaborkowski.wixsite.com/portfolio, but I will be buying a domain soon. So if you emmaborkowski.com in the future, that's where you'll find me. Yeah, I also have recently started a TikTok for singing. I don't so much use it. I feel like that's for the younger kids, but if anybody out there wants to listen to me sing, I've got a whole handful of videos on there.
Are there any other projects that you want to mention now before we close this up?
Yes, I'd love to. So I am actually an English and art major on campus with a media studies concentration. So as a part of my art major, I get to be a part of the senior art show. So my installation for that will be a 5 to 10 song EP that I'll be writing and producing and mixing and all that good stuff. So that will be out on Spotify and Apple Music come probably April or May. So it's not out yet, but eventually when you look up Emma Borkowski on those platforms, I will be there with a whole bunch of original songs.
Awesome. Oh boy, do I look forward to that. That is great news. Great news.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emma, for taking time out of your day to talk to me and have this wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Thank you for having me, Pauline. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Many thanks to Emma for joining me for the terrific conversation this morning and for sharing her voice with us. And heartfelt gratitude to you for listening to Musician Talk on the One, KYMN.